Screen this.
Where are you?
All right. Well, I just got the notice that we're live. It pops up on my screen, Simos. We're live.
Hey, good morning from
Yeah,
brilliant GTA because I'm in Mississauga. Mr. Jazz Takar is up in Northern Brampton.
I'm actually not.
Right.
You were asking the question off air, and then I saw the sign saying that we're live. I'm actually sitting in the headquarters here in Toronto. So we just gave it a nice fresh coat of paint.
It looks gorgeous.
I'm glad that you said that. I was actually curious to find out what the viewers think. Is it too much blue? Like, how do I look? Really, that at the end of the day, I'm really wanting to just find out how is my skin complexion on this, whatever you call this color. How does it look? The new background, fairy tale blue. My team tells me that's what the color is here. But yeah,
it almost has a green mint to it, but it looks.
It does
great.
Actually. What do you like? Part-time painter or something, Simos? Like, how did you know it has a slight little green tinge? I think that's how.
Because I have eyes, and right now green is the hottest color. Like literally, it's everything green: clothes, paint, decor, emeralds, mints, pistachios. Like it's really, it's a very hot color right now, and people are just loving the green, and people are loving the summer, bro. People do.
Pistachio. I'm looking outside the window. It's a beautiful day here in Toronto, and I'm sure Mississauga is the exact same. And that reminded me of pistachio gelato. And I think today's a day that it's going to be nice and warm, and you can get some gelato. But in the meantime, I want to welcome everyone to Brunch with REC. Hopefully, you're also catching our other segments of Brunch with REC, which is really real stories with Tyler Walborn, and he sits down with our REC insiders and documents a true story, like a real story with an investor where like they're actually going through an investment. Maybe they've already made the investment, just the ups and downs of that whole journey. So hopefully you're enjoying that. And then every once a month, myself and Simos do our segment together because I think we just really like the sound of our own voices, and we want to make sure that you get to see us and hear us and let everyone know we're never too far away from our community. I mean, we're blessed to have the 54 agents that we do that cover the greater Toronto area, and our 11 support staff, a little over now 11,572 REC insiders are in our community that we've been cultivating and nurturing for the last 17, almost coming up to 18 years. I mean, as I say that number, it's like, I'm not talking about 11. I mean, 1,100 people would be huge. 111 people would be huge. I mean, the fact that, Simos, we have this community of over 11,000 people that have stuck with us through so much. I mean, it seems like we're coming out of the other end of this pandemic right now, and we've had financial crisis and we've had so many things, but yet I think what most people like about what you and I do, and I want to get your feedback on it, is the fact that we've always just kind of led with education. We obviously have our opinions. I mean, we've been in the business for a very long time. We're investors ourselves, but I think it's just the fact that we kind of lead with education, and we'll offer some compelling buying opportunities when they actually present themselves. But kind of, what's your take on that, brother?
Well, I couldn't be more proud of the community we've built. I mean, it's not a joke to take care of this many people. It's a massive commitment that we've undertaken for the last 15 years, going on 16 years, literally with the REC insider community, and every single day we get massive feedback, and I'm not talking about just positive, fluffy nonsense, and we appreciate it. God bless everyone who likes us and trusts us, but like I'm talking about real support in the field. We have over 50 agents now that support every single one of you, through the thick, through the thin, through the move outs, through bad tendencies, through good tendencies, through up markets where literally 2 months ago, you couldn't like literally put a for sale sign up. People were calling all day, give me a property. And then when the pendulum of the interest rate swung the other way, the market froze, didn't know what to do. We'll talk a little bit about that today. But that's what this community is about. And it's not about Jazz and I, it's about our entire team of service providers, of committed professionals that are dedicated to you, our insiders. And it's about the insiders supporting themselves and each other. We've had hundreds of events over the years, live, and now obviously the new norm is online. But I can assure you we'll be getting together soon, whether it's a barbecue cookout this summer. We're planning a few things, whether it's a Jays game, whatever it is we end up doing. I can't wait to get together live with our insiders, to see their kids, to see their progress, to talk portfolios, to compare my portfolio to yours, because mine's better, faster, stronger than yours, Jazz specifically, because I have one more property. Just joking. I don't have any more properties. We have the exact same properties. Tim Hudak just joined the
Awesome.
backstage. If somebody wants to let him in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. So kudos to the entire REC Insider community. Big congratulations to you for being here, for sticking to your guns, and for watching a show like this, because this is where we roll out our data and our take. Today, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, right, and we yell this from the rooftops on a regular basis, right? In fact, like bringing on our guest today, which we will in a couple of minutes, Tim Hudak, CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association. We've had him on, I'm going to say maybe about 18 months ago. I might be a little off, but then we got a bunch of comments like, oh my God, that conversation with him was amazing, guys. Can you bring him back? And look, we will always do our best in terms of trying to reverse engineer what you as our community are looking for. And so I'll put out the ask once again. Let us know what topics you want us to cover, what guests you want us to bring on. Again, can't promise that we'll bring on everybody and anybody, but we will definitely try to cover that topic, cover that burning, topic that's going on in the media. Bring on the guest, have those conversations. If you want us to dive deeper into market stats, just let us know. And it's simple, guys. Like, we are very, very easy to get a hold of. But some people do ask us, what's the best way to get a hold of us? Here at REC, it's very easy. Just email info@reccanada.com, and there it comes up on the screen. Wow, do we have an amazing team? I have a feeling Stephen already knew that I was going to be going there in my head or something, but thank you, Stephen. Just take that email, write whatever you're looking for in the subject line. You don't need to make it all formal and all that kind of stuff. Throw it in the subject line, exactly what topics you want us to cover and coming up in these Brunch with REC webinars, as well as, to Simos's point, like, what other type of opportunities might you be looking at? I mean, we've been very blessed to have done already this year in 2022 2 investor marketplaces. I think we've initiated a little over $107 million, something along those lines. Like, I know I'm not far off. That within 2 marketplaces. And for anybody who's new to our world and you don't know what an investor's marketplace is, I'm just going to take the next 13 seconds to go over that. That's the place where you get to come to a webinar and opportunities are presented to you all at once, anywhere from 3 to 5 different type of opportunities where you can take action right on the spot. Like, you could be anywhere in the world and you're able to take advantage.
And that's because it takes us. And that's because it's important to know the reason you can do that is because we take 2 to 3 months to vet them. To procure the opportunity, then it has to go through our lawyers, then it has to go through our math and our due diligence, and then you can take action and, of course, take it through your own due diligence. Yeah. But the whole point of the marketplace is that instead of having to sell real estate, for example, on a one-off or and nobody gets to see it or review it properly, you have 2-3 months, educate, understand the market forces. Like, today we have the man who runs the entire province's real estate association. He has the insight. He will be sharing the insight that leads our province in real estate. Today, you will get the nuggets you need to make decisions. That's what brunch is about. It's about the conversations that matter. Marketplace, you're going to go into confident, knowing the data and knowing if that works for your portfolio and for you, and be able to act. And that's what marketplace truly is. It's a place where you can focus in on the offerings. Jazz presents them with the people behind the opportunity, meaning it's not, oh, here is an income property. No, the builder would be there, the developer, the planner would be with him. If you're doing a condominium, the CEO, why did they choose that land? What is special about that little piece of dirt that they're going to put 80 stories on? That's the type of insight, that's the type of depth that we go for, and we're very proud of.
Okay, guys.
Let's get the big man in here.
Yeah, let's get Tim here, and we'll talk market stats. We'll do all that. How are you doing, Mr. Tim Hudak?
Good to see you, John. Jazz, Simeon, thanks for being back on the REC just in time for brunch.
Yes.
Yeah, what are you cooking up today?
Well, I don't, Simos, what did you have today? I haven't eaten yet. I generally skip that first meal. I usually start eating around 11:30, and then I go on that seafood diet. Whatever I see, I'm going to start eating at around after 12.
Seafood diet.
I'm on that diet right now, brother.
No, the kids this morning, they had to be in Milton at a farm for a birthday party at 10. So I got them up. They got up actually pretty early. They were up at 6:45. Yeah. I cooked them up a beautiful egg breakfast, over easy eggs, some toast, a little bit of avocado. They ate it up, and I had an egg myself. So
yourself, Tim, what do you usually go for, like, on a weekend?
So a bit like Simeon, usually Saturday or Sunday we do a nice family brunch of some kind. So cook up some eggs, some bacon either on the barbecue. Or some P-mel bacon is another big favorite, that kind of stuff, orange juice and some fruit. I got my favorite combo, fruit and eggs. I just love that. You know, like that Cora's place? It's pretty well all fruit and eggs.
Cora's right down the street from me. I love Cora's. Yeah. I mean, big shout out to also, I mean, it's a small diner. It's probably still, every time we go in there, it's like you're stuck in the 1960s Winfields at the corner of Leslie and York Mills, not too far from your head office there as well, Tim. But I still love going there. Like I said, you get stuck in the 1960s when you walk in. But I took the team yesterday to breakfast there, and we were just saying, oh, I hope these guys don't change it. I hope they don't make any changes.
Don't worry, they won't.
Yeah. Well, they're your paisans there too, so maybe you can have.
Which is why I say they won't. Don't worry.
I've been there for lunch and some meetings, but not done the breakfast there. So,
actually, I gotta say, I gotta give them a shout out, because we took 7 of us yesterday for breakfast with taxes, with tip. It was like $132, and we all ate the big breakfast on their menu. So, just an amazing spot in that sense. For sure.
Talking about affordability. It's a place where inflation hasn't touched it yet.
Inflation hasn't touched that yet.
We can do a remote there the next time we do this brunch.
Yes, I like that. I like that idea. I mean, look, for everybody who's watching right now, we're not going to spend too much time going into the bio of this gentleman. I mean, if you Google him, you'll get a really good sense of all the stuff that he's done and what he's up to right now. But Tim, if you don't mind, just give our guys and gals a 2-second kind of bio in terms of what you're up to right now specifically. Not all the stuff that you've done, because we'll be here for hours. More of what you're up to right now with the Ontario Real Estate Association.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jazz. So CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association. So we represent the now about 94,000 realtors across the province of Ontario. That is the largest provincial professional association in Canada, I believe. So we support our members with some leadership training, good guidance in the marketplace, our standard forums. We produce those as well. And a big part of the job too that I do is the advocacy, because we work for our realtors, but also for the clients, for the men and women and families that are out busting their butts for every day, trying to get into the market, find a place they can afford. So a lot of work we do is working with political decision makers, the media, and others to keep fighting to keep that Canadian dream of home ownership alive. And really glad to be on REC again to talk about just that.
And I think that's very important for people that are not in the real estate industry to understand that these bodies are not just for our support. They're actually the people who, like, standard forms. Like, we can just say that, nobody would understand what that means. Standard forms is whether you're doing real estate in the city of Toronto or you go up to a remote place up north, you're going to be met with the exact same standard, with the exact same form. You're going to be protected by the same rules, laws, in actual reason within a transaction, where you don't have to worry of what the document says. It's standard. It has all the things, the clauses, the all the things in it to ensure that your interests are protected, that you're professional, that whoever you're using is trained to use the language, to use the form, and ultimately have a smooth and of course safe transaction. It's massive.
That's a great way of phrasing it, Simeon. And anytime there's a new law that comes along or court case, we update our forms. Every realtor across the province has the latest tools. We want to make sure, for your investors, your buyers and sellers, even for their residential properties, the realtor at their side will be the top trained professional anywhere in North America with the best tools to help serve their clients.
Now, why don't we actually just touch on some of the stats that we're seeing right now? And Tim, I mean, I personally would love to just kind of get your take on it as well. And then we'll definitely dive more into what you're doing, your team is doing, because I know you got a massive team behind you as well that allows you to do something like this with us. So we're very thankful for the whole team for allowing you to give us your time. But why don't we dive into, Simos, some of the stats that, they're fresh, they're hot right now, what we're seeing in terms of months of inventory, and then we'll touch on rates and then go into affordability as well. Why don't you kind of start, Simos, in terms of the Toronto Real Estate Board stats?
So I personally refuse, we're going to cover them today, obviously, but in my everyday conversation, I'm no longer covering it. Kind of like COVID, looking at the number every day. I'm not looking at the number every day. And that's the same way on the way up, the trajectory that was insane up to 2 months ago for this blip, because I'm going to call it a blip because it's fear in consumer sentiment that we're feeling and seeing every day. The economy is actually in bad shape. So that's not a maybe, but the consumer sentiment and the fear that the media puts in the marketplace simply for clicks to fulfill what they need to do. If people read the story, they would understand that the market is getting very nicely balanced. There is a slight correction from the 60-day run-up between December and February. And we're seeing those numbers kind of settle in and pick back up to the levels of October, November 2021, which was kind of where people started crying foul, saying, this is not fundamentally in touch with the economy. What is happening? It did this little run up with the free money before people, 1%, 0.99%. Like, you can't give money away and expect people not to take it. So that had to come to an end. That's where we are. But just to touch on your stats, Jazzy, we're looking at just under 2 months as an average of inventory across the GTA, depending on what market you're in. As always, shoot a quick note to info@reccanada.com. We'll get you your local stats, the stats that matter to your home and to your family. If you want if you're watching other markets, obviously we'll get you whatever you need. But from a stat perspective, we're getting a bit more balanced, still a seller's market, definitely a landlord's market. The rental scene is insane because of the interest rates up, rents up.
And before we just go into kind of like the rental numbers in that sense, Simos, when we speak about months of inventory, when you say a little over 2 months, just to give everyone some context, for the last almost a year and a half, I don't think I even saw above a month overall. Like, maybe it was a month and a week. To finally see over 2 months of inventory, and I get a lot of heck on TikTok where everyone's like, yeah, obviously you're a real estate agent. You don't like the fact that there's more inventory, or you like the fact that everything sells within minutes. And no, because first and foremost, we're real estate investors, but even for brokers, we can't really help our clients as effectively, especially on the buy side, when you're putting in an offer on a property and there's 67 offers and some of it's a crapshoot, right? Like you're just putting the highest number you possibly could think of. And so to have the 2 months of inventory, I mean, it's such a nice refresher, for a lack of a better word. I mean, Tim, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm sure you're happy to see some of that as well, because that obviously helps with affordability.
Yeah, it's a bit of a breather right now, right? Gives people to take a breath, talk to the realtor, make a decision without the pressure of I got to decide, tomorrow for the house is gone. It's assuming Ray's a good point. It often seems like the media can only do two headlines about real estate, right? It's either skyrocketing or crash, and there's nothing in between that it could actually be more of a balanced market. That's why it's so important, critically important, to work with your real estate professional, make the right call on where a neighborhood is going, where prices are going. They stay up to date to the minute. But I also think that in the intermediate future, we're still going to see a rise in prices, because while we may have 2 months of inventory, it's nowhere near what we would historically have. We've not built enough homes the last couple of decades to catch up with demand. We're moving in the right direction finally, but we're way behind. And those underlying indicators of demand, the millennials that are getting promoted, having families, looking for a home, the bank of mom and dad that love their kids dearly but wouldn't mind them moving out of the basement and getting a place of their own. The economy is still strong in the province of Ontario. Immigration is coming back, right? All these things are pushing up demand with limited supply. And also, let's not get our knickers in a knot, right? Yeah, mortgage rates have moved up, but they're still less than they were 5 years ago or 4 years ago. And that's a very healthy market. So I think prices will move up because of those demand factors in the time ahead.
Yeah. So there's a few points there to unpack, because yes, Tim, to your point, interest rates are lower than 5 years ago, but the prices of homes aren't what they were 5 years ago. That's the best. That was one of the comments that got me. I was like, because I was like, no, but we're still lower. But they're like, but I'm paying 700K more for my home. So it does make a difference, and I do understand that impact. However, what I want to say to continuing into a stable market, because there's a few points here, and we really need to address them because everybody has different circumstances. So Tim said prices are going to go up because we haven't solved the problem, and that's true. And now it's compounding further. And how is it compounding further? The cost to build a home and the replacement value of a home has astronomically gone up. So back there was a few years ago where you would look at your insurance papers or to your MPAC, your tax bill, and your home is worth $1 million, let's say, but the MPAC would say 700. You're paying taxes $700,000 home. Your insurance replacement value was 800,000, but your house is $1 million. But you saw those numbers and you didn't quite understand what to make out of them. To build a home today, you're looking after lot an average of $400 per square foot. I just met with a few builders the other day looking at a project. This is for low rise. This is mid-grade, not luxury home. Mid-grade is at $400 a foot. 5 years ago, $400 a foot, you would have a little palace. Literally. So the cost of regular materials has gone up so fast because of the supply chain issues caused by the pandemic. Because now of geopolitical, there's so much going on in the world. Canada has retiring trades that just went on strike, that in order for them to go back, which they did, do you think they took less money? No. Nobody goes on strike. Well, it's happened before, but very seldom does the carpenters union or the plumbing union is not going back for less money, my friends. Your toilet will be it will be plugged until you pay more. And what's happening, that trajectory and speed of rising costs has literally again disturbed the market, meaning buyers are cautious because of affordability to what OREA is doing. So they're waiting to see what happens with interest rates and waiting. Builders and high-rise builders and low-rise builders are saying, wait a minute, If my costs are going to go up another 20% and I can't raise prices 20%, I'm not a charity, I'm a business. I'm not going to build. I'll wait a couple of years. If they do that, and that's happening, there was a Globe and Mail article 3 days ago, 4,600 units, housing units, condos for the majority of it, have already been shelved, not canceled, shelved, meaning developers are saying, I'm not launching right now. It's too volatile, prices might go up too high, I might have to cancel and ruin everybody's day. They don't want to do that. But if 4,600 units came off or got shelved, we're not fixing what Tim is looking for. So this volatility in all the things is creating further issues that are going to constrain supply, and immigration targets by our Liberal government are actually not only on target, they're surpassing. So people are coming, people are working. The recession, whether it's 6 months, 1 year, a year and a half, it will be resolved like it always is. And then we're going to be holding another crazy, intense market unless we do what Tim tells us to do. That I'm looking for advice. Tell us what to do. How do we, like, all these things that I just unpacked are real conversations in the last week.
Yeah.
What do we do? What do we make of it, Tim?
There's number one is build. Number two is build. And I'll throw in number three, a tie between build and more skilled trades. You made a really good point about that. Yeah, I mean, we built more homes in the 1970s than we did in the 2000s, right? Like, that was crazy. With more and more people who are building fewer and fewer homes. You talk about how expensive it is to build a home now. In some areas, I think including York region, before you even put a spade in the ground, for all the taxes and red tape and stuff you have to go through, it's about $120,000 to $150,000, right? And who pays that? The eventual homeowner at the end of the day. So here's the good news, though. We just got through an election campaign, and I was happy to say two things happened. Number one, housing was a major focus in all parties' platforms, and each of the parties said we need to build 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years to bring affordability closer for average Ontarians. That was part of our housing affordability task force. They all said that, so that's good. Item number two that was a good thing in that election campaign, the nuttiness factor was low. Like, often in campaigns, politicians will throw out an easy measure that sounds good, but actually is damaging to the marketplace. And we really did not see that in this campaign. When they talked about building more homes, it was actually in a responsible area. There was no crazy policies to win votes that could hurt buyers and sellers. So I was happy about that. So we've laid out how you can build more homes. I'm happy to get into more details about some of those solutions. But something you're right about the trades as well. And I am seeing encouraging signs from this government that they've got a good partnership with the private sector unions. They made a strong commitment to opening up more trades places, getting more kids when they're going through high school to think about the trades. Good money, right? 6 figures, pensions now, good benefits. And on your immigration point, one thing we're pressing for is change the immigration point system, where you get certain points depending on, your language capacity, your degrees, university and such. Reward trades. Right, we bring a lot of people in with university degrees and all that. Okay, but you should give more points to people with skilled trades. That way, the new immigrants coming to our country can help build the homes that they're going to be living in.
Yeah.
Now, when you mention like build as your 3 points, I'll say 2.5 points when you mentioned it, Tim. And we also use the word red tape, and it gets thrown around a lot. And we're so lucky to have you, because you've been in a lot of meetings, you've had a lot more conversations than someone like myself and Simos, and I think it's safe to say that 99.9% of the people that are watching live right now and will be watching
this is his business.
Yeah, like, this is your thing. What does it really mean? Like, when it's red tape, can you kind of just explain that for the average person in layman's terms?
We lay out a couple of examples. Let me give you one on building for privately owned homes, and then I'll give you one when it comes to rentals. But in our housing affordability task force, and the viewers can see it at the Housing Affordability Task Force report, just Google it, Ontario, and you'll see we lay it out. But here's a classic example. There was one city of Toronto building a condo, and there was a lot of red tape around shadows. And they found that the shadow went into a park, I think, only in a couple of days a year. And the shadow would be for a couple hours a day for only about, I think, 10% of the park. I forget the exact numbers, but that ballpark. And because of this rule, they knocked off, I think, 10 or 12 stories of that condo to eliminate the shadow altogether. And there were about, I think, 3 floors of affordable units that were part of that casualty as well. So you go so far in some directions that you're actually making prices higher and limiting supply. We've seen arbitrary use of heritage designations, mostly for NIMBY forces that aren't heritage buildings, to stop them from being, built up, as an example. And there's almost this carousel where the home builder, will go on this carousel and they'll stop at one government office and they'll go around the carousel to office after office, and they keep passing the buck. So you keep going around and around before you eventually get off the carousel. And by that time, it's years later and prices have gone through the roof.
Who makes that decision? Sorry, Tim, I have to ask, because the shadow story, I've never heard that. And I'm going to be using that a lot more in my videos and content. But who makes that final decision based on 2 days a year, 3 days a year, or whatever it is?
There's been, I think, a real pile-on of various provincial and municipal rules. There's so many different departments at a municipality and then provincial level you have to go through. A lot of them wanting the same data, but they make you go through each step along the way, as opposed to, one-stop shopping, so to speak. And then I think a lot of municipalities, because local politicians often will cave into NIMBY forces, they'll make up these artificial rules or processes just to frustrate everybody. Here's another one. Picture wartime bungalow, whether that's in Vaughan or in Scarborough. It's way past its prime, and the owner wants to tear it down and build on that spot. So if she builds a 4-story monster home, that's her right. Good for her. It'll support one well-off family. I'm seeing a lot around where I am in Toronto. But if that same builder said, I'm going to knock that home down and build 4 townhouses or a duplex or, a triplex where entry-level, first-time buyers can get into, oh my God, Jazz, they go through this regulatory ringer. The NIMBY forces defend, they descend on it, they delay it, send it to the tribunal, costing that developer, tons of money. And then she throws up her hands and walks away. So who loses is those 3 or 4 families who never get a place to begin with. So we say, report.
And you're referring to the exclusionary zoning, Tim.
Exactly. That's the name that we use for it.
I want to talk about every time I see you, we talk about this, and today will be no different. I want to dig right in because that's where we, as REC insiders, we as citizens of Ontario can make a difference by reaching out to our MPPs and making this a priority.
Absolutely.
We tell them this is a priority. I want you to work on this on my behalf, my MPP. I just voted for you. Work for me and do this. Tim, unpack this from the beginning. It's huge. This is it.
That will be the single biggest key to unlocking affordability for first-time buyers in our urban areas in Ontario. It's the most important steps, and I get it. The NIMBY forces can hold sway over politicians, but I think if you give people as of right the ability to do that. Does it have to be in every neighborhood? No. Our report says you should consider it, but it could be next to areas of existing density, close to subway lines and GO lines. But my goodness, you'd have a level playing field where that property owner could do the one-person home. That's their right. Or if they wanted to do the duplexes, the townhomes, that would bring more affordability close to home. They're doing it now in other states. They're doing it in New Zealand. We're moving this direction. But boy, if we want to help more people get the keys to a great place to call home, this is step number 1 for our city areas.
All right, I just wanted to really quickly, just only because I see the numbers.
My rant will go probably 2-3 minutes because I want to explain the
and
difference.
I want you to rant. I just wanted to let everyone know who's coming on right now. We're sitting with CEO of Ontario Real Estate Association, Tim Hudak. Guys, there's a comment section just below the video here live on YouTube. Throw in your questions, throw in your comments. We will try to spend about 15-17 minutes on kind of a quick Q&A rapid fire with Tim, myself, and Simeon. So make sure you get your questions and comments in. Simos, go on your rant, buddy. Do your thing.
Yeah. So it's not so much a rant, is to understand the process. So what this would do. So let's say Toronto tomorrow morning says out with exclusionary zoning. We are going to allow every single neighborhood across the subway grid, for example, that's within 1 kilometer or within 1.5 kilometers, because every meter in a radius is massive. Let's call it 1.5 kilometers, which is a 10-minute walk to subway. You would literally change the life in what the city looks like if you allowed me as a homeowner having a wartime bungalow. It's typically a 40 to 50 foot lot, which is massive. because that's back in the day, that was the norm, a 40, 50-foot lot. It was a humane thing to do. Now we cannot expect that when we have 10 million people on top of each other, which is why we're going up and why this needs to happen. So if me as a homeowner today wanted to do what Tim said, I have a lot, I want to put a monster or I want to put a fourplex. If I want to put a fourplex, what the process looks like is this. I go to a planner and an architect and I say, this is my lot. They're going to say, give me a survey. You're going to take your survey. They're going to put up a design proposal that suits the laws and the rules of our city, our province, our neighborhood. So it's respectful to lot coverage, for example. Back then, it was 30% lot coverage, which means you could put a home on 30% of the ground you own. Now, bigger homes, there's bigger demands in life. People are looking for 50% coverage or 70% coverage, whatever the case may be. But you have to go through these studies. You have to go through panels and understand the process. And there's nothing wrong with having process. But if I wanted to put a fourplex, now I need a zoning change. So I have to go to get what's called a variance, a change out of zoning. So my current zoning says single family homes. I cannot put a fourplex. In order to put a fourplex, I have to go to the board. The board now has to put up a letter letting everybody know for 90 days that Simeon wants to put a fourplex. And if you oppose it, come on down. Sure enough, Mr. and Mrs. Jones come on down, and they've been there since 1939, and it's just not going to happen because that oak that's there, it's the one I got married under, and you're not taking the oak down even if you were to plant 50 trees, because that oak means something to me, and the 4 families that could live here do not mean something to me. And the city has typically given weight to comments like that instead of taking a logical approach, a reasonable approach that gives everybody the opportunity. Because if I build a single home there, the rent's going to be $7,000. Who can afford $7,000? We know who can. The engineer, the software architect. But if I build 4 2-bedrooms at $2,000 a pop, I end up with $8,000 as a landlord and investor, which I'm winning, and 4 families can afford to live there, working for $6,000 a month, where 40% of their income goes to their rent. That's what we're looking to do. And what Tim is proposing is that zoning, effectively, what we're all want to do is that if you live within 2 kilometers of a school, if you live 1.5 kilometers from a subway station, if you're within whatever the metrics and logical sense makes, you don't have to go for a variance. You have to follow the rules, meaning lot coverage, trees, respect for nature, respect for shade, for that matter. But let me not have to go through a 2-year nightmare to supply the city with inventory. That's the fight.
Well said. Yep.
That's the fight.
Yep, exactly. And it's been the easy button was to say no, and the politicians would say no and such. So our report lays out a number of ways, what we call as of right. You would have the ability to do this in the designated neighborhoods and not have to go through that ringer, which ultimately punishes millennials, punishes new Canadians, and punishes first-time home buyers. Those are the victims.
Now, in terms of basement apartments, are they looking at, and are like, what's your thoughts on just basement apartments and making that even a little easier?
Yeah, so Jazz, that was the other one I was going to say. You asked me about the examples of red tape. So we talked through a number on single-family home and such. But when it comes to rentals, we also said we should have, again, as of right, the ability of a homeowner to have a secondary suite in their home, whatever neighborhood. And throughout the 1970s, I call it snob zoning, a number of municipalities passed rules that you couldn't have a secondary suite in those neighborhoods. And they have all kinds of obstacles. So we said enough of that. Let's just allow that to happen. How is it important? Well, number one, for the homeowner, if you have a secondary suite, as you know from your experience, Jazz, in real estate, that they can pay down their mortgage 25% faster when you have that coming in. So that's good for home ownership. And number two, that would open up rental units and quality rental units in every neighborhood in the city, not just big apartment buildings. We need those too, but it would open that up for everybody to have a choice where they want to live, close to the school they want to live. It would make a big difference to the economy. So we recommend to the province to ensure that will happen. And here's the sweetener I'll add on for you and Simeon as well. There's classic examples, eliminate the red tape, how we can build homes and rentals that'll be quality that people can afford. We should also reward municipalities who play ball, because municipalities can often find a way to drag things out, put new processes in place. It's like that old expression, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So we also think there should be carrots and sticks involved. So those municipalities that are inviting in new neighbors, that want to see the young talent stay in their community and find a great place to call home, reward them. And Jazz, as you know, every year there's a budget that has funds for water and sewer or transit or bridges, roads. How about this? Those municipalities that are playing ball and welcoming new affordable communities, they get to the top of the list.
Yeah.
And those municipalities that close the doors and put up walls around the community and say, no, we don't want anybody coming in. Well, they go to the bottom of the list. I think that housing delivery fund like that would make a big difference and reward good behavior and punish bad behavior.
Now, are you seeing any specific municipalities starting to actually make a push towards making it easier for basement apartments and zoning? Not to try to put you on the spot or anything, but where are you seeing, in our province right now, or maybe where you can forecast even municipalities playing ball a little easier?
It's a great question, and it's all anecdotal. I know Toronto, for example, on the exclusionary zoning, they do have that rule in the old downtown area. And then when the municipalities came together into one city of Toronto, the others don't. So they're trying to find out how they can expand that. So that's positive progress. I remember in Halton region, Oakville and Burlington area, we're doing what we requested around the secondary suites to allow more apartments and more choice. But one thing that we've suggested as well, the province should have a report card that you, Jazz, Simeon, anybody on the podcast today can go and look it up and say, how is my municipality doing? So the province can publish how they're doing and opening up for new homes, and then rewarding the municipalities with infrastructure funds for those that are doing a good job. So I think that kind of transparency, clarity, clear markers, just like we used to all get our report cards and you worry about showing it to mom and dad. Well, let's do that in terms of how we're doing in housing.
You said report card and my heart started to beat a little quicker because I was one of those kids. But talking about just going back to basement apartments, I mean, my family, we were on both ends of it. We lived in a basement apartment as tenants. And then my mother and father being a taxi driver his whole life, mother being a factory worker her whole life, we wouldn't have been, there's no way they would have been able to afford the actual home along with 3 sons. Not that we had everything, but we also didn't grow up with nothing. It was because we were able to rent out a basement apartment. And back in, I'm going to say early 90s, I mean, it was $550, $600 that my mom was getting out of a basement apartment, 1-bedroom basement apartment from the tenant. But that helped significantly.
Oh, yeah, that was big money back then.
It was big money back then. It paid off the property tax and some of the grocery bills, And so,
listen, we didn't grow up eating in restaurants, etc. Our parents, we went to the picnic with sandwiches. These were not options. Wonderland, there was no $19 hot dog option. It just wasn't. And that's where we come from. And not that there's anything wrong with being blessed and privileged, but we just weren't.
Yeah.
And when we talk about those basements, like what Jazz is saying about that $400 or $500, that's all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
All of it.
Yep.
And today it matters just as much because the juniors, the new generation, calls it house hacking, where they buy a home, they get into home ownership, they rent the basement to help support, pay the bills.
House hacking?
House hacking is the word that they use. Yeah, for sure. It's funny because on all the socials, Tim, they call it house hacking, and Simos and I laugh, and anybody, I mean, you'll laugh.
Well, we have to learn what it was. We're like, oh.
Yeah, because I was like, well, what are they saying, house hacking? And I started listening to it and Googling, and I'm like, oh, you mean just renting out a basement apartment?
Yeah, my grandparents for that story, when they came here from Czechoslovakia, they bought a home back in the old country. Property ownership was at risk with communists and all that, and they rented up the upstairs. Right, so my dad grew up all the time, the renter, and that just helped them pay down that mortgage, and it was a smart long-term investment. So let's do more of it. Whether we call it what my grandparents did or house hacking, either way, let's do more of it.
Precisely. It's been around for a long time, and it's amazing. I just missed, guys, and maybe it's a good repeat for everyone. You guys were talking about the grading of the municipalities for that system. Was that implemented, or is that a proposal?
proposal. So again, we had the Housing Affordability Task Force that Premier Ford and Housing Minister Steve Clark had the honor of sitting on that. It's one of our recommendations. And in fact, if I had to highlight the top two, this would the Housing Delivery Fund, reward good behavior and punish bad behavior. And you get a lot more good behavior, as we know. And secondly, the notion of as of right. We talked about exclusionary zoning. We also said there would be an as of right to convert excess commercial space. We're all probably using less commercial space now as a result of work from home and the ability to buy more stuff online, convert that to residential and old government buildings. And we also said you should have as of right along major transportation routes like the new subway routes and go to build much higher stories. We're investing billions of dollars into the ground. It depends where you are, downtown core or further north, but 12, 14 stories through the city along the subway lines. People are going to like that. They're going to be right on the transit line. And that makes a lot of sense to match up with the investments that taxpayers are putting under the ground to allow more housing around there to support it and develop those areas.
Yeah,
so funny.
there's some very exciting projects coming up. Oh, sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
No. So I was just saying, I was just driving down the Gardner yesterday, and I was just looking at our skyline, and so many people will say, "Oh my God, there's just so many buildings. There's too many buildings. We got to stop." And I'm like, "Oh my God, do we ever need more?" Not only because of all the people that are coming here and that are going to be coming here, and that's really number one, but just to make our skyline look even that much better. Like, look how cool Manhattan's looks, right? I mean, I just hope some of our architects are building neater and they're getting more riskier in terms of the design aspect, because I think Toronto needs a little bit more of that, but that's a different topic.
So let me ride your segue. So let me ride your segue, because the last week it was a very, very intense, busy week with meetings with developers, actually. So I did a truckload of business development for us, and obviously for our REC insiders. It's for you, it's not for us. But I met three major projects. Sorry, one is in Hamilton coming in July, and that's by Emblem, that you guys all know all too well, and that's Cash Pashutin's group. Cash Pashutin is the CEO of Emblem, but he also is the CEO of First Avenue Capital, which is a family office. He runs over $4 billion in assets, and he put on a show. He actually rented out the Mississauga Living Center, had over 500 of the city's top agents there to deliver a market report, and of course to garner support for his Hamilton project in the midst of what's a downturn in the real estate market, in the economy. So what he covered off was crucial in the product that he's building to Hamilton. So you want to talk about a developer who's committed to design, because I will give the good, the bad, and the ugly. I could care less. This is somebody I'm a huge fan of, meaning I love his design process. I love his decision making. I'm very biased to people who do a great job for the reason of doing a great job, because they care about their reputation. So anyways, Emblem is coming in July, and this project specifically is literally New York / Bay Street design and quality. Like the furniture package is Louis Vuitton. Like, he's bringing design to downtown Hamilton, has never seen anything like it. It's 1,000 units. This is going to be 3 towers, all supporting the amenities. So now to what Tim was saying. He got the highest density in Hamilton's history. Why? Because the city believed that he will deliver a project that will last the test of time.
Good.
The city's not going to put 3 towers and 1,000 people in a city block because they think anybody can do it. It's a huge undertaking. The amenities have to be built in a way to keep costs down. So instead of each building having its footprint, they share the amenities. They're bigger. They keep the expenses to the tenant and the owner down. They provide a quality of life that's second to none. And you have now literally 600 units or 1,000 units, people making their life downtown Hamilton. That brings employment, opportunity, all the things. Another meeting, Yonge and Eglinton. We all know it's ultra popular, has been forever. There's a reason, because it's literally the most connected intersection in the country. Not Yonge and Bloor, Yonge and Eglinton. Subways, LRTs, bicycles, just it's the most connected intersection in the country. And Austin Birch is bringing a fabulous project to market, where again led by design. 86 units, more boutique building, but the brick is coming from Denmark. Like everybody is now putting, to your point of beautifying the city, it is a savvier market. People expect materials and expect design to be a part of the city. Gearlock in the Junction, affordable product. If anybody wants to Google Gearlock, this developer has been giving keys to the city, to owners. It's just pure pride. You look at these units and they're at $1,000 a foot, not 1,500. So they're delivering great product for a great price, but they're going to areas where they can do that, meaning they don't have to pay $4 million an acre or 19 million for the land. They're getting good. They're doing smart buys, and they're serving middle class Toronto. So my son can buy a home one day. Not everything is luxury. So there's amazing things happening in the city right now. There's always, of course, bad news and things we can do better, and that's why we discuss them. But don't get it twisted. There's a lot of people doing a great job out there, and we're in front of them, and we're bringing them to you. And you will hear about it next month when we're in REC Marketplace, when it's time to sell you on something. But this is education, not sales today.
I like to say everyone's checkbooks are safe for today. Well, sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I do apologize, gentlemen. I need to run to another appointment at this time.
No worries.
But
we just wanted to thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you just quickly tell us, how can somebody who's watching or listening right now, how can they help to make a difference? Like where can they go? What can they do?
So definitely go to aurea.com to see our latest information, our studies, our plans. And Jazz, that's a great question. We just got through an election, so MPPs are reelected. There's some new ones coming on board. Look, talk to your official. I used to do that as 21 years in the business. I actually enjoy hearing from people, particularly those that are investing in the community or moving there. Let them know what needs to be done. There's an additional site I'll call you to, and it's called homeforeveryone.info. Again, homeforeveryone.info. That was the plan that AREA put forward before all the political parties in the run for the campaign. Like the Housing Affordability Task Force, it is a recipe card to solve the affordability crisis. Build more homes people can afford, especially starter homes, move up homes when the kids come along, and homes for empty nesters so when they can stay close to the grandkids but free up the family home for somebody else, and more quality rentals. Those are the key areas. Our plan is there. We just need the political courage. And I will say, like Simeon's feeling good about some of the investments happening, I am feeling optimistic. We built more homes last year than we did for 30 years. We built more apartments last year than we did for about 30 years. We're finally going in the right direction, so let's keep going.
Amazing. Tim, I just want to say it is our honor. I always feel blessed when I'm around you, because you have spent your entire life in civil service or serving the interest of our industry and protecting the most valuable asset that we all have, which is our homes. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for always coming on and blessing us with your presence. And on behalf of our insiders, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen, both, for your leadership, your expertise that you share with your clients and those watching here today. And I also appreciate how you've both been champions for the realtor and the people that they work hard for every day. It's people like you that actually can make the difference. I can run my mouth off. I can try to be the pretty face, and I'm not so good at that. But I need people like yourselves with the expertise to help keep pushing.
Thanks so much, Tim. Have yourself an awesome weekend.
We'll see you again. You as well.
All right. Take care. Simos, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention and have a quick 5-minute conversation about, because we haven't seen our REC Insiders live on Brunch since the last increase in rates. Let's take the next 7 minutes, because we'll cap it off and finish off at 11:30 Eastern time here. So why don't you touch on what your thoughts are on the interest rates, and we'll kind of go back and forth and banter in terms of what's going on with rental rates as well, brother. Go.
Yes. So the bottom line is we're just not as smart as people think. We ask a lot of questions. So when I say we ask a lot of questions, like that's all we do. So this last week, as I mentioned a second ago, I was in a lot of meetings. I was in meetings with people that are 15 million times smarter than me. And I say that and I mean it, because these people are freaking math and economy geniuses, and they make
And they have a lot of
decisions.
experience, right? They have a lot of experience in it too.
They're the brightest minds in the country, period. So like Cash's group runs a $4 billion fund. What are we talking about here? His insight and his advice matters, period. So he says, in no uncertain terms, we're not approaching a recession. We are in one. The sky doesn't have to fall to be in a recession. A recession is when consumer spending reaches a certain point and inflation is at a certain point. As an economist, his group says we are in a recession. And there's nothing wrong with being in a recession. We have to fix what needs to be adjusted. But we have to act a different way now. We need to shift the way we move. Shift. Now you're in recession gear. What does that mean to current owners of real estate? It's good news. Rents are going up to you, landlord. What does it mean for the tenant? Bad news. Rents are going up for you, tenant, because you're competing with people who would have bought a home and they cannot buy a home. So they got to stay renting or get into the rental market. And that creates competition in a market that has not solved its fundamental shortage of supply. So don't act like fools and scared. Don't listen to nonsense on the news. Buy the newspaper, rip the first page with a headline, and read the article, because the articles are factual. The articles are well written. It's the headlines that make me furious, because people will read the headline while they're walking by, and then they'll go talk about it like they read the news. Like that's what happened.
If it bleeds, it leads. We've been saying this for 17 years. There's no difference. I mean,
what are some of the strategies you're going to implement, Jazzy? Because I can talk. I am going to be more conservative. I'm going to be pickier.
Yep. Yeah, I think overall, definitely. I mean, definitely, I'm going to be more pickier in terms of where I invest my money in general, like not just in real estate, just in general, even where I kind of made a shift where I held off. I like to get with yourself or my brothers or whatever it is with joint venture partners. I like to try to get 2 investment properties every single year. In 2021, you and I only did 1, right? In 2022, we haven't done an investment yet.
We're working on one,
and we're working on one. It's the same one that we've been trying to get done in downtown Toronto there, that we've spoken about, I think, a couple of brunches ago. But with that said, I'm actually wanting to give some advice to our friends that are watching right now, and if they have friends, family members, and or colleagues that are in the rental market. I mean, we speak to investors. 97% of our REC insiders are investors, but we also know that people that know people that know people. And so if you're at the water cooler and people are talking to you and wondering how, as a tenant, they can possibly win in a multiple offer situation when renting out a property, because I'm not going to say that's coming. It's already here in most urban areas, like by transit. So downtown Toronto, LRT in Mississauga. We're seeing it by the GO train in Oshawa, Durham region. And so we're starting to see those multiple offers on the rental side. And so what I would say to you, to tell some of your friends, or maybe you're watching right now and you're thinking about renting a property, is get your ducks in order. So first and foremost, make sure that you know that you need to have a certified / bank draft ready of first and last month's rent. Second, you want to make sure that you have all your credit bureau printed. Make sure that there's no mistakes on it. You might need to call Equifax or TransUnion. If there is some mistakes on it, try to get that fixed before you start going shopping for a place. Make sure you have your references lined up on your rental application. I know some of this stuff is basic or elementary, it might sound to people, but that's the market that we're in right now, where multiple offers are back in the rental market, and some areas also are experiencing multiple offers when buying and selling as well, just not as intense. To Simeon's point earlier, with the months of inventory sitting at 2 months of inventory, we're still in a seller's market, just not as an intense seller's market that we've been experiencing for the last 18 months or so. And so that's kind of my overall advice for tenants. But as investors, I mean, yes, if your building or your unit or your dwelling was built before November 15th, 2018, you can only increase the rent by the allowable amount by the provincial government. But if it was built after, and I know with a lot of people that are watching right now, majority of the people that purchased with us was after, if they bought like a new build condo or home or townhome, was after November 15, 2018. Again, as an investor, you have the advantage of increasing your rent to whatever the market allows for. So that's obviously a big, big plus. It's why, my father, my father didn't have an education past grade 8, right? In India. But one thing he always told me when I was getting my license, real estate license in 17 years, he was like, the good thing is that you're getting your real estate license, because when it's really, really hot, the market, people want to buy, and people want to, they want to get into the market. And when the market's not as good because the headlines are saying it or whatever it is, you'll also have investors who realize that rents go up at that time. So when mortgage interest rates are increasing like the way they are now, as long as you can think long term, you as an investor are going to win, because the people that were thinking about buying, they can't purchase right now. That's not to say that you should just go buy everything like you're playing Monopoly. In fact, both Simeon and I mentioned that we're going to be slightly more conservative than we usually are. But I can tell you, if that doesn't mean that we're not shopping. We're constantly shopping for you as the insiders, but also for our own portfolios, along with our VP, our director of operations, our real estate coach, Tyler Walburn. We're all kind of looking for ourselves, each other, and you. And so I do want people to understand as investors that as long as you think long term, you're going to win. You're not day trading real estate. That you can't day trade real estate like you can a stock. And I just put up a video on Instagram before we got started here saying that, look, you don't need to be that smart to invest in real estate. And the two people on screen that you see right now are great examples of it. We're not idiots, but we're not the smartest people in the world. And we don't need to be that smart. But the one thing that I think we both really realized very, very early is that the people that lend you money, the banks, the institutions, private lenders, they don't care what kind of paper you have posted on your wall in your office, if it's a degree or diploma. They don't care about the color of your skin. They don't care about how smart you are or how smart you're not. What you do need to know is that you need to know some simple math. Is there more money coming in that's going out in the long term? Can you take some action? Ready, fire, aim. And can you have some patience for the long term? So that's kind of my, I won't call it 2 cents because I probably went on longer. So that's probably the dime of 10 cents that I'm going to drop on everybody today. Simeon, why don't you sign us off, as you do an amazing job every time?
Yeah. So first and foremost, great advice, especially for tenants. We don't always remember to address some of their concerns. And I think it's very relevant right now, especially for our buyer audience that's not going to be able to buy it this very second, at least for them to be able to win and out negotiate and be ready for your tenancies. That was great, a great piece, Jazz. Good job. To our REC insiders, I mean, it's the same thing when we came on. Every single one of us is so blessed to be on this call right now. I'm sitting in my beautiful home with beautiful weather, with my beautiful partner, and talking to my beautiful REC insiders. So always remember to show gratitude, to live gratitude. That's what's important. Look around you, kiss your wife, kiss your partner, hug your kids. It's a great day. We were able to have amazing insight from such a great man. I respect him, Hudak, so much. He's never said no to us guys to come here, ever. So it's a matter of when. Like, we work with his assistant. He wants to come on. He needs time. No problem. Whenever. Like, I'm going to book him again now for next January. The guy's yeah, but he's never said no. So again, blessings, gratitude to all. Enjoy your amazing weekend in the city, wherever you are. I'm signing off from Mississauga. God bless for me.
Don't forget to don't forget to attend. Not next Saturday, the following Saturday. Real stories with real investors with our very own Mr. Tyler Walburn here live on YouTube. And if you're someone that wants to document their story, their successes and their failures, send that email to info@reccanada.com. Tyler will get on a quick call with you to kind of give you the rundown in terms of how that 30-minute conversation will go. Other than that, love you guys.
Amazing. See you, Jesse.
Take care, brother.